Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Pekoske, thanks for being here. I've got some questions for you, and to be frank with you, I've got some concerns about your record. Let's start with your decision to allow illegal immigrants to use arrest warrants as a form of ID at TSA checkpoints. In response to a congressional inquiry on this, you responded, I'm going to quote you now, TSA established a process where it will accept certain DHS-issued forms for non-citizens and non-U.S. nationals who do not otherwise have acceptable forms of ID for presentation at security checkpoints. And then you went on to list the forms that TSA would accept that included a warrant for arrest of an alien, a warrant of removal or deportation, the order of release on recognizance, an order of supervision, a notice to appear, an arrival and departure form, which included a printout of an electronic record, or an alien booking record. Now, I wrote to you on January 31st of this year asking you about this. Have you responded to this letter yet?
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm diving into a heated exchange that's causing a big stir. Senator Josh Hawley recently grilled a top Homeland Security official over a controversial policy allowing undocumented immigrants to use arrest warrants as identification to board flights with the TSA. Imagine that, using an arrest warrant as ID at airport security. Let's break down the details of this intense hearing and what it means for airport security.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Pekoske, thanks for being here. I've got some questions for you, and to be frank with you, I've got some concerns about your record. Let's start with your decision to allow illegal immigrants to use arrest warrants as a form of ID at TSA checkpoints. In response to a congressional inquiry on this, you responded, I'm going to quote you now, TSA established a process where it will accept certain DHS-issued forms for non-citizens and non-U.S. nationals who do not otherwise have acceptable forms of ID for presentation at security checkpoints. And then you went on to list the forms that TSA would accept that included a warrant for arrest of an alien, a warrant of removal or deportation, the order of release on recognizance, an order of supervision, a notice to appear, an arrival and departure form, which included a printout of an electronic record, or an alien booking record. Now, I wrote to you on January 31st of this year asking you about this. Have you responded to this letter yet?
No, sir, we have not responded, but I will respond.
I didn't think so.
I will respond tomorrow.
Okay. Right after today's hearing. It's amazing how that works.
Well, actually, I saw a response earlier, and it didn't meet.
Do I have the response?
No, you don't, but you'll have it tomorrow.
Right after today's hearing. Maybe we should have more of these hearings. We may get more. This is July, isn't it? I sent it to you in January. That's a very long time to respond to a letter that is 2.5 pages long. So let's just see if we can get some answers now. How many individuals have presented TSA with arrest warrants or deportation notices and were permitted to travel in this calendar year?
Under 1,000, sir.
How does this policy comport with 18 U.S.C. 1325, which criminalizes improper entry into the United States by an alien?
Sir, these individuals that have these arrest warrants, those arrest warrants were issued by the Border Patrol or a customs officer, and they serve as a beginning to our identity verification process. So you can't walk up to a checkpoint, wave that form, and then you go right through into screening. We go through a process to verify that you are the person that you claim to be, and that you are receiving the level of screening, which always includes enhanced screening when people don't have the proper identification.
So if somebody who presents an arrest warrant is subject to an in-person interview with the airport's federal security director?
They have an interview with the officers that are on scene at the checkpoint, but that's not all that's happening. What those officers are doing are they're talking to...
When you say the officers on scene at the checkpoint, what are we talking about?
The transportation security officers, the uniformed officers at the checkpoint.
Okay, but not the federal security director.
They will bring in the federal security director if needed.
Well, why would that person not be needed if you have someone who's an illegal immigrant?
Right. So we aren't looking at whether a person is legal or illegal in the country. Our function is to make sure that...
Why not?
Because our role is to make sure that people that might pose a risk to transportation that's significant enough to either require enhanced screening or to not allow them to fly, that the proper...
So your position is someone who is known to have violated the laws of the United States does not thereby need enhanced screening? You're not concerned about this person as a security threat?
Sir, there are people every day that violate the laws of the United States that fly. We look for things that are related to transportation security.
And you don't think someone who is by definition, somebody who presents a warrant for arrest, you don't think that necessitates enhanced screening?
They get enhanced. All of those individuals get enhanced screening.
You just told me that it doesn't necessarily involve any interview with the federal security director, and you also said that you may well let them get on airplanes. And in fact, you've allowed at least 1,000 people to get on airplanes this year, calendar year alone.
Right, but enhanced screening and getting on an airplane are two very different things. You know, you can.
So I just
Picture this. You're at an airport going through the usual TSA checks. You've got your driver's license, passport, or any typical ID. But now, Homeland Security is allowing undocumented individuals to use an arrest warrant as their form of identification. Senator Hawley was visibly outraged as he questioned TSA Administrator David Pekoske. Hawley kicked off with serious questions about the TSA's decision, clearly frustrated with the delay in responses. The senator wasn't holding back, and you can see why. Pekoske clarified that TSA accepts certain DHS-issued forms as ID for undocumented individuals. These documents include forms like a warrant for arrest, deportation notices, and orders for release. TSA says these forms serve as a starting point for identity verification. But Hawley pointed out the obvious issue. Shouldn't an arrest warrant signal a reason to keep someone off a plane? According to Pekoske, anyone presenting one of these forms goes through additional security screening and an interview. But this process doesn't always involve the airport's federal security director. Hawley questioned why such individuals wouldn't receive the same level of scrutiny as other travelers. His point, if regular passengers face intense screening for minor issues, why should people holding arrest warrants potentially have an easier time boarding flights? In the final part of the hearing, Hawley questioned Pekoske's broader decisions as a DHS official. Back in 2021, DHS attempted a 100-day freeze on most deportations and narrowed the scope of immigration enforcement. Hawley argued that such policies seem to prioritize relaxed enforcement over national security. DHS has faced resource shortages, yes, but should that mean easing up on enforcement? The senator closed by challenging DHS's priorities and asserting that law-abiding citizens, not those with arrest warrants, deserve top consideration. In the end, this intense back and forth raises some big questions about airport security and what standards should apply to everyone. Is TSA's policy a security risk or just a practical response to resource limitations? Leave a comment below with your thoughts. Should arrest warrants be accepted as ID, or is this policy simply too risky? And don't forget to subscribe so you're always in the loop with current events and important debates like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.